One absolutely critical tool that you're going to have to learn well as a programmer is a program called the terminal, which should already be installed on your computer. If you open up your applications, which you can do by hitting F4 and start typing in the word terminal, it should pop up and enter. So this is a terminal, which is a program that allows you to enter text commands to execute different types of things on your computer. On some level, this is a very archaic way of using a computer. Most people are used to using graphical interfaces like Finder or your browser, where you can click and use your mouse in order to execute things. The terminal just is purely text-based. It's what people used to use before any of those graphical interfaces existed. Why is it important? Is because I have access to certain commands that I wouldn't normally have access to using any other interface. So the bread and butter of using your terminal, first you have to get used to just navigating around, kind of like as if you were using Finder. How do I get from one folder to the next? How do I get into these different places? So I'm going to actually show you the terminal side by side with Finder just to show you how to use two different commands. First I'll make my terminal a little bit bigger so I can hit Command plus or Command minus. And just so you know, your terminal has very similar keyboard shortcuts like your browser. I can hit Command T to open up a new tab, Command W to close a tab, Command N to open up a new window, Command W to close that. But for right now, we just use a single terminal. So I'll have the terminal over here, and I'll have a Finder window next to it. And now your terminal starts off in your home directory, which is represented in the prompt by this little squiggly tilde. So if I go to my home directory in my Finder, I can see the files and folders that are available in this directory. And even though I'm in the same directory, I can't really see the files and folders. So the command that I need to use is called ls. And that gives me a textual representation of the same thing that I'm seeing over here. Now if I wanted to change into a particular folder in Finder, I would double click it, and now I'm in my ACLTC folder. And so I want to do the same. I'm currently in my home folder, and I'll type in CD, which stands for change directory, ACLTC. And now I'm in my ACLTC folder, which you can see because now it says ACLTC, just like my Finder window says ACLTC. But I can't really see the files and folders, so I have to type in ls to see all the files and folders which match what I see in my Finder. So on some level, it takes two steps in order to accomplish what takes one step in Finder. In Finder, all I have to do is double click a folder and I can see everything in it because it's graphical. In your terminal, you have to type in CD to switch into the folder and then ls to see what's in it. So let's do that one more time. Let's switch into this folder called Weekend Work. Again, in my Finder, I just have to double click it and there I'm at. In my terminal, I have to type in CD space Weekend Work. Type in enter. I don't see anything, although I can tell that I'm in that directory, Weekend Work. I'd have to type in ls to actually see the files and folders. You'll note that the terminal doesn't do a great job of distinguishing between what's a file and a folder. Generally speaking, something that has a dot something is a file. That's not always the case. And there's ways to configure the terminal to be a little bit more user-friendly with colors and give you a better distinction between these directories. One thing that I still need to know, again, everything is just using ls and cd, but how do I get out of a folder? In other words, how do I go back to the directory that I just came from? Well, there's a special folder name, so I can say cd, but instead of cding into algo or OOP, I'm going to cd into ... which is a special folder name that represents the one directory above. And so now you can see I'm in my ACLTC folder. It'd be the equivalent of me typing back in my Finder window. And you can continue to do, so now I can either cd into a folder in here or cd ... and then one step further, which is back into my home directory. I want to show you one thing that you can do in your terminal that you can't do in Finder, because so far Finder just seems superior to using your terminal to navigate around, which may or may not be the case. But in your terminal, you can type in ls, and you see the same files and folders that are available here. But if you give it an extra argument, ls-a, now you see the same files and folders, but you see a bunch of other stuff. And what this other stuff are hidden files and folders. And that's something that you don't normally get access to in Finder. So any file or folder that starts with a dot is considered hidden and is not accessible by a quote-unquote normal user. It is a file or a folder that you wouldn't want somebody to accidentally delete. But you, as a more advanced user, you will be either using these files or creating these files, setting up configuration for different types of things. So you'll have access to these hidden files and folders. So that's the basics of navigating with the terminal. Again, it's just ls to list and cd to switch directories. It takes a while to get used to, but once you get used to it, you'll be able to do more advanced things with the terminal, like executing commands, which we'll be getting into in the next screencast.